To graph this piecewise function, we really have two separate equations. F of x equals negative 2x plus 3, and f of x equals x minus 4. In other words, y equals negative 2x plus 3 and y equals x minus 4. If I were to graph these lines, we'd have our full line, but because we have a piecewise function, we're only going to keep a piece of the line. Now, when you go to graph any line, you really need 2 points, and then you connect the dots. We're going to be strategic about what 2 points we pick, because we're only going to keep where the x's are less than or equal to 2. And if you remember from our last ones, when you have plain less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, it means the piece of the line is a ray. You go to graph a ray, you need to know the point where the ray starts and then another point to run the ray through it. So every single time you do these ones and you make your T-chart to graph your line, a quick way to do this is whatever number is up here, I'm going to put that in for x. And this is where my ray is going to start. So negative 2 times 2 plus 3 is negative 1. I'm just grabbing some symbols here to help me graph it. So I'm going to put a point at 2, negative 1, right? 2 down 1. Now, it's x is less than or equal to 2, so the ray is going to start at a closed dot. Now, when I go to get my extra point, I want to make sure that I select an x that is smaller than 2. So I'm going to go with the number 1. If I substitute 1 in here, negative 2 times 1 plus 3 is 1. I'm going to plot this point at 1, 1. This is where my ray starts, and it goes through this point. So here's a picture of the piece of the line. Okay, so same thing with the blue one. Well, I want to graph this line, but only the piece where x is less than 2. So take the number that's sitting here, the 2, and that's the first number you plug in, and that's where the ray starts. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. And so I want at 2, negative 2, because there's no underline here, 2, negative 2, I have an open dot. Again, that's because of that. Now, where are we going to run it through? I need to pick a number that is greater than 2. So picking a number greater than 2, I went with 3. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. So if I plot another point here at 3, negative 1, 1, 2, 3, negative 1, right here. Now I'm going to put in my ray, and I have my graph. Notice where these come together, where the red one leaves off, the blue one doesn't pick up, it's broken, so this is not continuous. Okay, so let's do one more like that. Okay. Okay, so here's one more. This time I have y equals x squared plus 1, y equals 2, and y equals 3x minus 5. Okay. If I graphed all of it, it's a parabola. This is a line that goes through the y-axis at 2, a horizontal line, and this is just a diagonal line, positive slope. We're only going to keep part of it. So in every one of these, please make sure that the first thing you do is whatever these numbers are right here, that is where your graph starts. So in every single case, I'm going to substitute this number in as my first point. And if it's an or equal to, I'll plot that point with a solid dot, and if it's just plain less than, plain greater than, I would do an open dot. Okay, so if I plug 1 into this, I get out 2. So I'm going to plot the point, right 1, up 2. Okay, then I need to pick a number that is less than 1. So let's go with 0. I plug in 0. 0 squared plus 1 is 1. And I go and I plot that point. So 0, comma 1. I probably, because it's a parabola, I should do an extra point. So maybe let's plug in -1, another number that's less than, another number that's less than 1, and I get out 2. Okay, then let's plot that point, back 1, up 2, and I'm going to have this piece of the parabola. Now y equals 2 is a line that slices through the y-axis at 2, but we're only going to keep it at x equals 1. So the only point we're going to keep is 1, comma 2. Now notice when I keep this, see how it's plugging up that open hole? So that open dot just became a closed dot, and we're getting rid of all of that. Then the last one, I plug in 1 in here and I get out -2. I plot that with an open dot because it's plain greater than. Pick one more number that's greater than 1. So I went with 2. 3 times 2 minus 5, I get 1. So let's plot that point, right 2 up 1. And then connect those. And I've got my graph.